How my music? Listen to this one. Abba samaba, ogon seniya samaba, nabarabeniya samaba, yakana samaba, samaba, Abba samabe, Abba samaba, ogon seniya samaba, nabarabeniya samaba, yakana samaba, samaba, Abba samabe. You are doing it so well. Keep going. Azamama uwapande nae, awapa moya wadadana, wajejena, damurobe untadime.
As a demonstration of our very own individual and collective commitment to reinforcing and promoting who we are, which today focuses on our language. So we're here this morning for this all-important assignment, and I believe that the grace of our God, the grace of all of our ancestors are with us this morning for this well-intentioned purpose. And we're here this morning on behalf of Baby Carrefour. Baby Carrefour is a very unique entity, a very unique organization that has taken upon itself as one of its mandates to promote who we are, especially with focus and attention on promoting our indigenous Ghanaian languages. And so we've come together this morning to launch a very unique, once in itself, opportunity and platform, which is referred to as the Spelling G, Baby Carrefour Spelling G. Spelling G is a local language quiz competition that will be running across multiple media platforms, which will be focused on our knowledge and understanding and appreciation of ourselves in our local languages. And it is such a joy to partner with credible institutions who are equally committed to this particular endeavor. In this light, we would like to particularly show appreciation to UPSA and particularly to its Language Centre. I believe a round of applause to UPSA and its Language Centre is appropriate. Thank you so very much. And we appreciate every single one of our partners, Global Media Alliance, YFM, Happy FM, and ETV, for supporting us in this endeavor. We are doing this with the knowledge and support and goodwill of the Ministry of Education as well. And we do have some distinguished personalities who have set aside every other equally important thing to be here to honor and to grace the occasion. I want to acknowledge in our presence, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Kokomlemle Manche, Ni Tete Uruni II, representing Adabaka Manche. A round of applause to him. Thank you so very much, sir. We're truly grateful to you for being here with us and supporting us. It's a joy to have a beautiful Professor Adabele Bakari Kambon, Nana Kwame Baby Date, the first. A round of applause to him as well. Thank you very much. We are grateful. We want to appreciate, I believe we do have a representative from the National Commission on Culture here with us as well. A round of applause. Thank you so much. We're grateful for joining us. We do have a representative from the Ministry of Information as well. I believe Ministry of Information will be joining us as well. We're grateful to them for their partnership and support. The Ministry of Gender and Children and Social Protection is also collaborating with us, and we are grateful. Ghana Bureau of Languages, a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much. We're grateful for your support in this endeavor. And of course, we want to appreciate all the reps I mentioned from the Language Centre, University of Professional Studies, Accra. But particularly for this morning, I want to appreciate as well all of our students at multiple levels who are here with us this morning to grace the occasion. Respectfully, a round of applause to every one of them as well. Thank you so very much. And so to start it off, it's appropriate for us to be officially welcomed on behalf of Baby Carrefour, and of course to lay the foundation of what it is that has brought us together this morning. So I'd like to invite from the UPSA Language Centre, Dr. Mohammed Sadat, to share with us his opening remarks. A round of applause as he joins us.
Good morning. Memamache, Anola, Kolafia. I'm very pleased and humbled to welcome all of you here. My dean is here, Professor Asamoah, Faculty of Communication and IT Science. My HOD is here, Dr. Monkwa, she's here. Dr. Yafe, I can take the sentence. We should recognize that you're welcome. As you all know, today is a very important day in the history of this university. This is because we're going to launch spelling G, which is first in this country. So it is primus inter pares. Therefore, everyone here should be excited that you are going to be part of this history. Spellings, for that matter, pronunciation, is very key to any communication. In fact, it's a cradle for communication. Therefore, linguists will tell you that in communication, you have hierarchy. You start from phonetics, to phonology, to morphology, to syntax, to semantics, to pragmatics. But in all these hierarchies, the very core, the bedrock or the foundation is the spellings or the pronunciation. Therefore, if you can't spell very well, or you can't pronounce words very well, your communication will be meaningless. That is why this national assignment, I call it national because this is the first time we're having this program in this country. You agree with me that this is going to be very beautiful because of the languages involved. We have about 7 languages that we're going to introduce as part of the spelling G. And the numerous languages that we have in Ghana, we should see it as an advantage for unity, for national development. I'm very happy to be part of this, and I know you're also happy to be part of this program. Today is not a day for long talk. Today is the day that you are going to give birth to a very special program. Therefore, I will say you are all welcome. Kuduka, Sanu Kudazua. This is a language center, UPSC. So stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Sadat. We're grateful for your welcome. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, Spelling G is coming to you under the auspices of Baby Carrefour. I'm sure when you hear Baby Carrefour, it doesn't connect that this is a company or this is an entity, this is an organization, but that's exactly what it is. And when you hear the name Baby Carrefour, it immediately triggers your mind to language. It also triggers your mind to childhood and to childhood development, which is what this is all about. So we want to hear from the proponents of this novel idea of Spelling G, the National Local Language Quiz Competition. And so we'd like to invite Dr. Sharon Ofuri-Repon, who is with Baby Careful, to give us the purpose of our being here today, and as well to add meaning to what has brought us together. A round of applause for Dr. Ofori.
Good morning, Mama watching, ladies and gentlemen, invited guests. Today, history is being made. As has already been established, Spelling Bee is the first of its kind in our country. Baby Careful is a social enterprise that deals with everything with regards to babies and mothers, from preconception to the pregnancy period to labor and delivery, and even in childhood. And the unique thing about Baby Careful is that we are interested in bringing information and help to people in a language they can understand. And so that is why this Spelling Bee is all in line with our vision. We believe our local languages cannot die. That is what makes us unique. If we go to the US or the UK and we are all speaking English, nothing stands out about us. But when I speak Twi and I hear you speak Twi or any of our other local languages, it sets us apart as a people. And so today we are here to launch this unique competition, and I believe it will be around for a very, very long time. Thank you all for coming on board and enjoy your time here.
Please, let's appreciate them one more time. That's Dr. Sharon Ofori from Baby Careful. And so at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, the subject matter that has brought us together, it is a part of our lives. But unfortunately, because of our own lack of attention, let me call it that, it has become a technical matter. And so we need to draw our minds to the technicality of it, a source that is well researched and that is appropriate for the purpose. Now, our special guest of honor this morning is a black, is an African, he's a world-renowned master linguist, he's a scholar, and he's an architect of Ibibitumi. That's the oldest and largest black social education network on the planet. That alone deserves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is an individual who completed his PhD in linguistics from the University of Ghana in 2012. And in that year, he won the prestigious Vice Chancellor's Award for the best PhD thesis in humanities. Another round of applause for Secretary. Now, he has a long resume owing to all the work that he has done connecting to black awareness and to languages as well. But I want to align this, that he was very, very critical. In the last couple of years, you must have heard or read in the news and in the papers that a number of foreign nationals and people in the diaspora have sought to connect to Ghana, and not just to live and experience us, but to actually become citizens of Ghana. And our special guest of honor has been a key partner in this endeavor, helping 34 Africans from across the world to nationalize as Ghanaians in 2006 and 126 in 2019. And today he's here with us because he seeks and understands that Africa and African languages are important and critical to our development. He will speak on the topic Indigenous Languages, Critical Data Source for National Development. Please help me with a round of applause to welcome Obinfo Professor Abadile Bakari Campbell, Nana Kwame Peggy Date the First. A round of applause as he joins us with a special guest of honor's presentation. Oh, you can keep going, you can keep going.
Ago. Nyeje go. Na mamwache. Dasiba. Amsuma. Indinami. Ekaoro. Habari za asubuhi. Nakasubasi. Kiamboti kiako. Good morning. Oh, that why did I give more time? So, I want to tell you, just this past weekend, before I go into the topic, we had the first historic conference on Black Power, Abibitumi. Let's all say, Abibitumi. And the thing that I was most proud of is that we had live interpretation from English to Chi and from Chi to English for the conference. And it was very important because we had traditional rulers and delegates who joined us from Owukuga, from the home of Okomfo Anokye, the shrine specifically. We had delegates, of course, from Mampong, Ekwepe Mampong. The Abradehene was there, the Bamohene was there. We had delegates from Kumasi, the Nsumankwa-hene, unfortunately, because he was receiving an award. Otumfo had him go to Broma Hafo region, so he sent 4 of his Akomfo to receive an award. And everything that was said in English, they were also able to understand and even contribute. So I'm very proud of that. Let's give us a round of applause. And that's really on the topic of what I'm coming to speak of today. And that is, we are looking at indigenous languages, a critical data source for national development. Now, some of you may remember a few years ago, I think around 2015 or so, the then Minister of Education, Prof. Jane Nana Akpoko-Agyeman, she called for a change from English to indigenous languages as a medium of instruction. She was almost lynched for doing so. And if you go to what I like to call a cesspool of writing called Ghana Web Commons section, you would see all types of people insulting her, saying all types of things. And one of the comments was, just waiting to see what photosynthesis will be in a Ghanaian language, or ophthalmology. What were they saying? They were saying that they don't see indigenous languages as critical as a data source for national development. Others were saying, this woman got it wrong. She got a name for an electron and proton in Ebe, in Ga, Chi, in Zema, Dagari, Mo, Mamprusi, Dagomba, Hausa, Kotokoli, etc., etc. Before she wants to use local language for teaching, she thinks the children will understand the teaching in local languages better, but she has to find a name for electron and proton in the local languages. Otherwise, proton and electron will be called Adiankiti. And the children will be confused than ever. Some of us are our local language experts. They wrote experts like experts, E-X-P-E-C-T-S, but I will leave that alone. We're dealing with spelling. And this is a problem we have when the issue started making headlines many years ago. Now, before I continue, anytime that I give a talk, a lecture, I always like to make it as interactive as possible. We read that in our oral traditions, we like to have call and response, but we shouldn't just know that in the back of our head, but then when we come give a lecture, we just come and talk to people, right, without any response. So let's do this. When I say spelling, I want you to say G. Can we try that? Spelling! G. Spelling! G. We may have you come in to just give us a little thing when I do that. And I do that as well so that people don't fall asleep during my talks, because when someone says G, you wake up and say, oh, I remember where I am. So more of the comments were, what is the Chi or Ga word for adjective? Now that one is easy, especially for we linguists. How do you say multiplication in Chi or Ga or in Zema, Madam Minister? They were really challenging her. And again, what all of that meant is that they did not see indigenous languages as a critical data source for national development. However, I will quote Mam Sheikh Anta Diop. This is a linguist, this is a physicist, a nuclear physicist, and many are historian, cultural anthropologists out of Senegal, where the major university of Senegal has now been named after him. That's Mam Sheikh Anta Diop. Spelling? I caught you sleeping. I have my eye on you, especially you students. Where I will quote him, he says, European languages must not be considered diamonds, displayed under a glass bell, dazzling us with their brilliance. Our attention must rather be fixed on their historical development. Creatively, we discover that similar paths are open to all. That is to say, Shakespeare had no word for electron, but he's supposed to be the best, at English in the history of the entire language. Did he have a word for artificial intelligence? Did he have a word for computer mouse? Or did they just take the analog mouse that we see running around and decide to call this new thing a mouse? Did they not have a screen on their window and then decide to call this thing a screen? Did they not just operate on analogy with what they already knew in order to give a name to what they did not know? At one point in time, the computer was someone who was there computing. But then something else comes and they decide to call it a computer. Spelling? G. Spelling? G. So one of the things I would like for us to do today is demystify what I like to call Greco-Roman baby talk, aka scientific terminology, because all it is are tiny little words that even a baby of Greece or Rome would barely be able to say, but then they will hold it up to us and we're supposed to bow down on our knees 5 times a day in their direction. Spelling? G. Spelling? G. And I'll give another quote. Of all our studies, history is best qualified to reward our research. When you see that you've got problems, all you have to do is examine the historic method used all over the world by others who have problems similar to yours. And once you see how they got theirs straight, then you know how you can get yours straight. That is Baba Omowale, also known as Malcolm X. Spelling? G. Spelling? G. In Yoruba, we say, Enito jinsi koto, kora yoku lagban. Everyone say that 10 times fast. Let's go, let's go. Any concept there? Enito ji. Let's say it together. Enito ji. Si koto. Ko ara yoku. Lagban. That is to say, a person who falls into a pit teaches everyone else wisdom. In other words, I don't need to fall into the same pit to say, oh, let me not fall in the pit. In other words, we can learn from others. That is Owe Yoruba. Now, there are 2 primary routes for vocabulary expansion that can be used using indigenous languages, right? One is borrowing, and this tends to lead to semantic opacity. What does it mean? We don't really understand the breakdown of the word, right? We just borrowed it wholesale. We don't really understand how, we just say it's called this, that's all. There's also coinage, and that tends to lend itself to semantic clarity because we think about the thing, we conceptualize the thing, and then when we say it, we know exactly what it is that we're talking about. So borrowing, coinage, but then there's coirowing, or we could say borrages. So these are coinages based on elements borrowed from other languages, so it's somewhere in between. Spelling? G. Spelling? G. Spelling? G. So where we're dealing with natural languages versus constructed languages, which we can ask the question, should Akan continue to strive to be a pure natural language, shaped almost entirely by historical circumstance, and move towards being a partially constructed, planned, artificial language like English, shaped partially by history and partially by intentionality? What do I mean when I say partially by intentionality? When you find a lot of the Latin terms, it's because they were conquered by the Romans. When you find a lot of French and Romance words, it's because they were conquered in the Norman invasion. So that's the history. But then when they decided to do law, they intentionally decided to go to Latin in order to choose words. That was a decision. When they decided to do medicine and science, they intentionally decided to go to Greece to pull words. That was intention. They had no direct connection to Greece and barely any to Rome, but they made certain decisions. So again, English, we could see it as a partially constructed, planned, pan-Eurasianist language, noted for unbalanced ulterior selectivity in terms of both coinages and borrowings, especially in high registers. When I say ulterior selectivity, it's a big word to just say they intentionally decided that they're not going to come to P to take 60% of their vocabulary. They say we'll go to our cousins, right? They were very selective. We'll go to the Greeks, we'll go to the Romans, we will go to France. Spelling! So again, should we borrow and coin like English? So we asked the question, why does English borrow 29% of its vocabulary from, say, Ghana? Right? They could. The words are there. So again, they disproportionately borrow from other contemporary and classical European languages. And again, We talked about the Roman invasion, Norman invasion, and all of these things. But if you look at it, 29%, and this is according to Oxford Dictionary, 29% of the vocabulary comes from French, 29% from Latin, 26% from Germanic languages, which is its direct ancestor, 6% from Greece, 6% from other languages, and then derived from proper names, 4%. So we continue. Spelling. Spelling. So again, the thing that we can draw attention to is the most striking thing about viewing the chart is the realization that by far, most English words are formed from already existing English roots. 4 times as many words come from English roots as come from Latin, the closest competitor. For all its reputation for borrowing words, most English words are homegrown, and most of the non-English words come from only a handful of sources: Latin, French, Old Norse, Greek, and non-language sources such as acronyms, echoic, imitative words, personal and place names. So again, they decided when it came to we need a word for a computer mouse, let's just take the mouse that we know, right? I think we have a word like that in P. Who knows the word for mouse in P? Ekura. And that's what we call it in my house. I'll tell my children if I ekura no bra, and they know to bring me that one. They never come with a rodent, not yet. Maybe they will bring one day. But then where it comes to where, for example, P borrows from, you can find things like airplane, adupre. Aeroplane, adupre. You can have words like adaka. You can have words like pinsre. You can have words like praco, coming from porco, right? Pork, of Portuguese. You have duku, coming from duk or duk for handkerchief. Asipiti, hospital. You have asipatre, coming from zapato, shoes, and so forth and so on. But then, disproportionately, you find P doesn't borrow as much from other indigenous African languages, right? But there are words like tofiakwa, that's because of Nollywood. Yeah? Jollof. I think we're now aware that Jollof was an empire of Senegal and Gambia. So next time you're in the Jollof Wars, you can just point them to the origin, which is the Jollof Empire. That would be like saying the best fancy king cake comes from Dagare land. We leave that one alone. Tuozafi, Kizomba, right? Adaka, I mentioned that. Yoma, Oponko, coming from Mende. You have Kramo, you have Boto, you have Kotuku, Sebe, Tawa for tobacco, and so forth and so on. But now I want to turn my attention to some of the technical terms, the technical vocabulary that those are commenters on Ghana Web. They were certain that there can be no word in P or Ga or any indigenous language for these magical scientific words. But I want us to demystify that. Spelling? G? Spelling. How did you know what to do? We must have some Africans in the crowd. Now, where it comes down to what words we can use, again, as a critical data source for national development, what can we do to make our languages have similar development that we see in English, French, or any other language? So we can consider several factors. We can consider economy. You may not want a word that has 27 syllables. Accuracy, it needs to actually speak to what the thing is about. Utility, right? People will look at prestige and general understanding that people will get from it. If I say a word and no one understands me, I'll have to talk louder. So if I say a word and no one understands me, there's not too much utility in that. But I want to turn my attention to photosynthesis. And those commenters, as soon as I read their comments, I knew that they don't know English very well. They don't really understand the breakdown of photosynthesis. Because what is photo but the word for light? Photo, just the word light. And what is synthesis other than the word from a combination of parts into a whole, coming from sin, together, titenai, to put or place, to place together, right? Now, when I thought about it, I realized that, there's not necessarily the most economy for that. It's a long word, photosynthesis. Accuracy, okay, maybe you can make a case for accuracy of what the plant is doing. Utility, well, prestige, I guess English, we're all supposed to pray to it. Oh, wonderful English. But I realized that there's a word for light in P. Who knows the word for light? Some are saying kania. That's actually coming from Portuguese, kandare, but no problem. But there's hang, where you're talking about this type of light, the light that's coming from the sky. Hang. And then there's also a word for composition or putting together. You could say nkabum, right? So we could say hang nkabum, right? The reason why I'm saying that is not necessarily that next time you go home you have to say hang nkabum. But just to let you know, let's demystify this Greco-Roman baby talk. We have baby kafu. Baby kafu. What are they doing other than they're saying baby kafu? So if you're a Greek or Roman baby, you can understand all of science, right? So we could say hang kabum. We could say hang enriane ye. Enriane. Emwana afifidie de ye abiane. So we could say using light in order to make food, right? So we can either do borrowing, we can do coining, we can do coining, or we can say, let's think deeply about this and come up with our own word completely independent of Greco-Roman baby talk. Ophthalmology. Again, when I read the comments, spelling, I realized that the guy was really spelling. You didn't know I was coming back at you with that one. I realized that the guy must not know English too well. Or the girl, I don't know if it was male or female. But when we say ophthalm, it's just the word for eye. It's just the word for eye. Does any Ghanaian language not have a word for eye? Can anyone tell me the word for eye in any language represented here? Any or aniwa? Technically, aniwa is one eye, and then ani is the set. All right? In other language, any language, Ga. Mbe. In Ebe. Oh, we don't have any evidence here. Nku. Nku. All right. What about Dagbani? Anyone? Imbie. Okay. What about in Yoruba? Oju. Okay, no problem. So literally you're saying I, so it's coming from ophthalm, meaning eye, and then it's also related to thalamus, meaning the inner room or inner chamber. So the inner chamber of the eye to say the whole eye and the socket and everything inside. We have a word for room or inner room or chamber. We have a word for eye. And then logi is just coming from speaking, discourse, treatise, doctrine, just coming from the word for speak or word itself. So do we have a word for word? A-S-E-M, asem. I think we should go back to the spelling G because it should probably be A-C-E-M. Asem. So again, ophthalmology, not really a lot of economy with that. It's a long word, ophthalmology. Accuracy, okay, the inner room of the eye. I think you're stretching that one, but everyone knows it. Utility, all right, people have an understanding when they say ophthalmology, they know what you're talking about. But again, for the word for eye and P, I can say ani or aniwa. For the inner room or chamber, pia or piam. For speech or discourse, okata, right? Now, there's a book called Chi Kasamrane Kasiswa by Asim Kwesi Bwedi, where he goes into, and I wish I had the PowerPoint up, but let me hold this up. For those in the front, you can see he shows a cross-section of the eye and all of the parts of the eye, the internal parts of the eye, the lens, right? Every part of the eye. Just to let you know that we do have words for it, but oftentimes when people say we don't have words for it, it's just that they've never read a dictionary. And most people don't even know that a tree dictionary exists. And then I tell them I have a dozen of them. You can come over anytime. Spelling! Spelling! The word for electron. Now you're very interested. Huh? So electron, coined in 1891 by Irish physicist George J. Stoney, coming from electric and on as an ion. And it was coming from electric again, and that comes from the word for amber. Like what you see me wearing today, amber, right? So that comes from electrum, which is the Latin word for amber. Again, Greco-Roman baby talk. And then the ion, that suffix is coming from to go, to walk, right? So basically, a walking of that electric element is moving. So electron economy is pretty short. Accuracy, amber, okay. Utility, prestige. But again, in P, we have a word for amber. Does anyone know the word for amber in P? Do we have any P speakers in the audience? Well, I have to thank my supervisor for my PhD thesis, Prof. Osami, because he made me read Christalla's dictionary from cover to cover, every single word in every single page. And that's where I came across the word for amber, which is eton. Eton, let's say it together. Eton. Eton. It's also called a komforhene, or a komforhene. And then there's also a word for go, right? That's the ion, which is, who knows the word for go in P? Go, to go. Ko, yes. So if we wanted to make something like Greco-Roman baby talk in P, we could say eton ko, and that would be electron. But do we necessarily want to have P baby talk in place of the Greco-Roman baby talk? So we could also call it anyinam sini, anyinam, which is lightning, and then sini, a small sliver, a small portion of lightning. If we decide to think about it ourselves, so we can either take the concept wholesale, or we can think about it, or we can say anyinam sima to make it even smaller. Sini, ba, sima, right? Do we continue? Proton. Now, how can we ever come up with something for the magical scientific word proton? Spelling? G. Spelling? G. Well, you would be interested to know that proton only means first. It means nothing but first. Again, Greco-Roman baby talk. We are taught that, oh, they're so scientific. Oh, look at all the words. Oh, how can we ever have a word for proton? But it only means first. Do we have a word for first in P? What is it? Kind. So you can say akain. Even the word akain comes from first. Akain, the kind. So we do have that. Demystifying English. They say, what about multiplication? Remember the comments at the beginning, right? What about multiplication? So you have ahoduo yo, right? Very simple. So meyeno ahoduo. So that one is there. That one you don't even have to coin anything. It's been there forever. For adjective, edin and chirechiremu, all we linguists, we are laughing at that one. So that one was very easy. So again, when you look at multiplication, it just comes from, again, the same Latin terminology. Where you have multiply, it comes from to cause or become many. Where you have adjective, it literally just comes from add, which is to, and then jecter, which is to throw inside. Right, as an eject, inject, to put inside. Very simple words. Now, I want us to, spelling? G. Spelling. I'm taking you on tour. I have my chorus and my orchestra. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So I want us to demystify the idea that English terms are accurate. Have you ever heard anyone say, oh, manya malaria? Manya malaria. Hey, malaria now, bomb you. That malaria comes from literally mala, meaning bad, and area, meaning air. Because the Romans used to think that, oh, when you go to the swamps think they have bad air, and that's why we're getting sick. Now, is that very accurate? Is that the cause of malaria? Or is it the mosquitoes in the swamp? But yet we'll say, that we can't use our indigenous word, even though it's telling you what's actually going on with the cerebral malaria, right? That's much more accurate than saying bad air, because bad air does not cause malaria, right? Telephone, right? Tele just means to send, and then phone just means sound or voice. Send, sound. Do we have a word for to send? Money. or an ekrapim mena? Do we have a word for sound or voice? And ne, nidiye. So we have it. Demystifying color terms. Oftentimes people say, and I remember one time people say, oh, in our languages we only have red, koko, we have black, tuntum, and we have white, fita. There are no other words. But I was like, what about ahabamono or ahahamono? They say, oh, that just means green leaf, there's fresh leaf. No, that isn't a real word. But I say, do you know where the word green comes from? It comes from growing, meaning the color of living plants. And that again comes from growing, living, or vigorous is the meaning freshly cut. Groine, Proto-Germanic, just means to grow, to be fresh growing plants. But then we'll say, oh, they have so scientific colors like green. Oh, but we can't just say ahabamono. But it means you don't even understand the English that you are worshiping, because it means nothing but growing plants. Ahabamono. Let's continue. Now let's demystify the English color terms. The word lavender is nothing but the word for a flower. The word orange, what we would call ankahono, is nothing but the word for a fruit. The word peach is a fruit. Aquamarine just literally means sea water. Turquoise is the name of a stone that has that color. Sky blue is the color of the sky, obviously. Lime green is a fruit. Pink is the name of a flower. Purple it means dye, the color dye, that's the origin of the word. Red, it came from the word for a hair color, because they have red hair, some of them. White originally comes from the word for shine. Black comes from the word ultimately for burn, right? So all of these things that we think are so scientific, they have so many words, oh, they have so many words, we don't have it like that. They have nothing but looking around and saying, this color is that color is that thing. Spelling? G. Spelling? G. Now when we look at the word yellow, who knows the word yellow in P? It'll say chicken fat. That's not a color, that's just chicken fat, you can't use that. But then when you come to English, the word yellow, you will find that it just comes from Proto-Indo-European khel, which means to shine. Something that's bright just means to shine. Shirem. This is not something that is just beating our minds and so technical. But if you find the original copy of Chi Kasamrane Kaseswa, you'll find that it has words for all of these different colors. And I remember the first time I gave this talk was at the first School of Languages conference, and I wanted to present the talk in Chi. But they said that, no, I can't present it in Chi because they had not planned for that. Meanwhile, at the same conference, they had sessions in Arabic, sessions in French, sessions in English. But fortunately, they corrected that mistake by the second SOCON. They had a Chi panel, organized by yours truly. Give me a hand. You can do that. All right, but you have words like bibri as the word for blue. Dodoye. And I remember when people were debunking that minister and what she said, they were saying, no one here even knows the word for brown. Does anyone know the word for brown? Is an auditorium even bigger than this? And out of the whole audience, I raised my hand. Why? Because I teach my daughter and my children in P. And I think that any child should know colors as the thing that, before they turn 4 or 5. So of course, I looked up Dodoye. When someone says, Mehun Dodome, they're saying that my body browns me, and they're saying they're not feeling well. That's the doye. You have koko, you have ahabamono, you have akogostradie, you have nsonso as ash or gray, coming again for the word for ash, and so many others. For those who are interested, you can actually buy that book, Pi Kasamrana Kasaswa. It has a lot of scientific terms, technical terms, and many others. Now let's look at spelling. Oh. We're about to turn our attention to spelling. G. Spelling. G. Spelling. Oh, you're paying good attention. Let's look at the digital metaphors for analog things. Metaphors we live by in the digital realm. When we say, oh, here's an operating system, P doesn't have any word for operating system because it's too technical. Let's call it Windows. Do we have a word for windows? Mpoma. We talked already about mouse. Ekura, we have a word for that. If you want to talk about surfing, right, the web, osrochi, we have a word for surf. If we want to talk about the web, we have Ntintine. Greco-Roman baby talk is all it is. Network, we have Asawa Atana as a net. If you want to talk about a site, Bia. So what we call a website in my household is Ashebia, a site that you look at, right? Ashebia. Page, Kratafa. Byte. Byte just means a small byte of something. So literally they took the word byte in order to coin gigabytes, terabytes, all of those things. So we have a word for a small something, sini, that we already talked about before. But then we have a word for byte, re. So we can either choose that or choose this. We have a word for message, nkra. So what are we so fascinated about? Don't we have our indigenous languages as a critical data source for national development? I think we do. Now, when they talk about our languages and they talk about spelling, spelling? Spelling! They will say that our languages are vernacular. However, the word vernacular itself comes from when the Romans conquered the British and they decided to call the English language vernacular. At that time, they said no learning can go on in English, that's the language of herders. So when you say Oxford, it's just the ford where the oxen pass. I hope you are getting me. Oxford! Oh, I have to go to Oxford, the seat of learning. That at that time, all learning was done in Latin, and they said that all of you people, you just heard our accent for us. They're at your Oxford. So again, as I come to a conclusion, I want us to start thinking about why do African languages in these neo-colonial times disproportionately tend to borrow from European languages? If we even say that we don't have it in Chi, for example, can't we look at Wolof? Because there's a word for electron in Wolof, Mbejfep. Can't we also look at Yoruba? Can't we look laterally, just like English looked laterally to the French, to the Germans, to the Romans, to the Greeks? Can we not look laterally? My main point was that we can do it all internally, but we don't have to. If we actually understand that we're Africans, then we can understand that we can look laterally to our brothers and our sisters, and we can look to ancient times, such as in Medu Neter, what they call hieroglyphs, because hieroglyphs can form the same type of model to our indigenous languages that Greek and Greco-Roman baby talk serves for English, right? So again, for us, and I'll quote Mam Sekhan to joke on that point, he says, for us, the return to Egypt in all domains is a necessary condition for reconciling African civilizations with history in order to be able to construct a body of modern human sciences in order to renovate African culture. Far from being a reveling in the past, a look towards the Egypt of antiquity is the best way to conceive and build our cultural future. In reconceived and renewed African culture, Egypt will play the same role that Greco-Latin antiquity plays in Western culture. He says, Egypt is to the rest of Black Africa what Greece and Rome are to the West. The new disciplines in the African humanities must be built up from the foundations of ancient pharaonic culture. So, as I come to a conclusion, I would like to thank you, and I hope I've given you just a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of demystification in terms of our languages can be a critical source for national development. We need not cower on our knees in front of English and French that do absolutely nothing but make up Greco-Roman baby talk. We can stand on our own 2 feet, or if we need support, we can look to our brothers and sisters in the Mende language family, and the Yoruba language family, in Kiswahili that has so many technical terms, and Wolof in so many others. So in conclusion, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would like to close by saying, spelling! Spelling! Spelling!
Yewo bibio ebibi mae yewo bibio Ghana fue yewo bibio oh my Ghana yewo Missy yewo bibio aye. Ebibi mae yewo bibio aye. Ghana fue yewo bibio aye aye aye. Oh my Ghana yewo bibio aye. Missy yewo bibio aye. Ebibi mae yewo bibio aye. Ghana fue yewo bibio aye aye aye. Oh my Ghana yewo bibio aye. Missy sika sika. Denchembo diamonds. Asase papebi. Quiet fefe. Ebon suneda hoy. Oh my God, nyami edi abroka. Tibio. Missy sika sika. Denchembo diamonds. Asase papebi. Quiet fefe. Ebon suneda hoy. Oh my God, nyami edi abroka. Wambaye Missy yewo bibio aye. Ebibi mae yewo bibio aye. Ghana fue yewo bibio aye aye aye. Oh my Ghana yewo bibio aye.
I believe it drew our minds to appreciate that it's not really rocket science. And so you ask yourself, what is rocket science in Chi? I'm sure we can find one. I heard somebody behind me saying, but it's easier to say electron than to say all of that. It's only because that's what we are used to. If we were born and we were taught it in Chi, we would have all been saying it's easier to say Chi than to say electron. So it's really that simple for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, we're still here, still with Global Media Alliance and all of our partners, UPSA Language Centre, to launch Baby Careful Spelling G. That is the National Local Language Quiz Competition. And so at this point, we want to now zoom our focus onto Spelling G itself. We want to present the concept to you so you can appreciate what it is going to look like. And then, of course, we can get your partnership for it as well. We'd like to invite Joseph Nano from Baby Careful to give us clarity on exactly what Spelling G is all about. If Joseph is in the house, a round of applause as Joseph joins us. You can keep it going until he gets here.
Thank you very much, Kabute. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. We've talked a lot, so I won't talk plenty. Briefly, there is a young couple who got married not too far back, and when they had their first child, there was a challenge with the child, and they did not know what it was. They asked around. Later at a point, they found out what the problem was with the child. The child had to undergo a surgery. By God's grace, the child was saved. A few weeks after the child was saved, the surgery, one of the partners was having a conversation with some people and was trying to describe the problem to that person. And as he tried to do the description, the person said, this is the name in tree, and we have a cure for it, a local cure. So what just happened was that a child that we saved from surgery, if the parents knew the local name of the problem that the child was facing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are losing a lot of lives because we don't understand our language. There are problems that you have that you can't say it in English. There are issues that if you are not able to describe the nuances in your own language, you'll be found wanting. And if language is the critical means of communication, then if there's anything Ghana, Africa must do, we must make sure that we are able to speak all our local languages. And that is the vision of Baby Careful. We are saying that no mother or child in Ghana and Africa should die as a result of the lack of the right information at the right time and in the language they understand. So, a mother in Waliwali or in Navrungo or in Zima or in Hokoi at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. when she's having a problem should be able to access a medical personnel who speaks the language they speak, so that she can explain, oh, we been the kenke, and I'm in Banu, a way, and I'm a she should be able to say it so clearly that the medical person would understand, and she also will respond, or he will respond, in the language the woman will understand. And we believe strongly that if we are able to achieve this, we can save mothers and children. Not fathers, mothers and children. But mothers and children, because every father has been a child before. So we are virtually saving the whole world. And because we want to save the world, we believe that we must promote our local languages. Because the core vision of Baby Kafo. So spelling G is Baby Kafo's little effort to the contribution of the great work that is being done in the country in the promotion of the local languages. We believe that if we can put some excitement about our languages, people can watch it on television and listen to it on radio and know that, oh, watermelon has a name in Ghana. Butterfly has a name in tree. Afafrato. Hippopotamus has a name in Ewe. Pardon? Hey, I didn't know that. And then heartache. My heart is broken. Has a name in Hausa. Anybody can help? Okay, so if we can do this, we believe that what is going to happen in a few years, in a few months, people will feel proud about their language. Because when they walk into office, they can have a technical conversation about advertising, about science, about media, about accounts in their local language. And imagine when they are connecting on that level. Innate connection that is given to us by God and from our generations and our kids. This is a vision for Baby Kafo. And we are praying that starting from today, we are going to get to a point where every year, 2 times, the first half of the year, we'll have targeted at the schools, primary schools, because per our laws, the local languages must be spoken in the primary level. So, looking at the primary schools, we are going to have a competition for the primary schools in the nation. Then, in the second half of the year, we'll have it general, open to every Ghanaian public, because you don't need to go to school to speak your local language. So, we can't contain it in the school. So, it's going to be like Ghana was beautiful, or Day to Ash, all those events you know. So, that one, anybody here, if you believe in yourself, who are people go and check out churches, and you know you are the man, and you can speak the language, and the girls will get up and say, Allah, this man is good. Then you can apply for it and audition for it. So this is the vision for Baby Kafo, and we are hoping that as we have started, by God's grace and the efforts of the great men and each person here, we will continue to Ghana becomes a world power. Hallelujah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
I'd like to first invite a representative from Global Media Alliance, that is YFM, Happy FM, and ETV, who have taken up the mantle to be our media partners as far as this endeavor is concerned, to take it both on radio and to take it onto the television as well, so it can go as far and as wide as possible for the people to be able to appreciate it. George Amponsa, do we have George Amponsa with us? Ladies and gentlemen, please help me with a round of applause as George from GMA Broadcasting joins us to explain why they are partnering with Baby Kafo for spelling G.
Good morning. It's very exciting and wonderful to be part of this event. As you can see, most of us sitting here this morning, if we are asked to make one sentence, I think it will be difficult for each one of us to speak our local dialect without bringing in English language. Se se mtuna yakase menkasa wa bra menka brofo a In 1 minute, cry a bad young. So it is with great pleasure and honor that we at Global Media Alliance, we are the owners of Happy FM, YFM, Accra, Kumasi, and Takrady. We are pacesetters when it comes to youth. We brought urban station to Ghana. So when we were approached that let's do this together, we said, we welcome with our wholehearted. My CEO was supposed to be here this morning, but another important cause. That's why he's not here, I'm here. As I said, we own 4 radio stations, and we are going to take this event on all our radio stations. We are going to take it to all our radio stations. As an official partners, our role is to capture and share the stories that unfold within this event. We recognize the responsibility entrusted upon us to showcase the brilliance and emotions and the triumph that will be witnessed during this competition. And we hope that the MCs who are going to do this one too, we also promise to even bring on board some of our presenters.
Remember, as he echoed, they are taking us across Accra, Kumasi, and Takrady, both on radio and on television. I believe a big round of applause is deserved for this one. So shortly I'll be coming back to Papa again to prepare us for the mock presentation and the official launch of Spelling G by Baby Careful. But I'd like to take the opportunity to appreciate and acknowledge some of our personalities who have joined us as well, our key partners and collaborators. We want to say a big thank you. We want to appreciate the presence of the Dean Faculty of Communications. Thank you very much for being with us. We're truly grateful. The head of the department as well, Department of Communications. Thank you very much, Mom. We're grateful. And to all the lecturers from the same department, Mr. Nelson, Mr. Tawfiq, and Mr. Duncan. Thank you also very much. We really appreciate the support. We want to appreciate La Nkwantanang cluster of school students and their teachers, Mr. Tay. Mr. Tay, where you at? Thank you very much. And to all the students of La Nkwantanang, please give us a wave. Give us a wave, give us a wave. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you have learned a thing or two this morning. Dr. Ansre of the Language Centre, University of Ghana. Dr. Ansre is with us as well. Thank you very much. We're really grateful for the support. Dr. Theodora Ajintete. Dr. Theodora Ajintete as well. We're truly grateful to you. And of course, my very own Dr. Yafia Kenten is also here with us this morning. We're grateful. Dr. Patience Kalisteko is a Ghana specialist. Yes. She speaks Ghana like the Chinese eat spaghetti. So thank you very much for joining us. And so friends, just before we get to the official launch, and then after that we'll be getting to the mock presentation, we have a few individuals who have nominated themselves, as Mr. Nano said, they have hit their chichi, that they can spell a local language. So we have 6 individuals who will be spelling in various local languages. Let me just give you a gist of the languages that are represented in our mock presentation. And you can take your pen and paper as well and see if you can compete with them and be able to also showcase whichever language you yourself are connected to. We have a representative for Dagbani. We have a representative for Hausa. We have a representative for Chi. We have a contestant for Ghana. And we have Fanti and Eve in the house. A round of applause, a round of applause. It's time for the official launch of Baby Careful Spelling G, the National Local Language Quiz Competition. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have the blessing and the support of the Ministry of Education. And so at this point, I would respectfully like to invite the Principal Program Officer, School Health at the Ministry of Education, Mr. Bernard Selassie Jomeku, who is here representing the ministry to lead us in this endeavor of officially launching spelling G, baby careful spelling G. Sorry, please a round of applause for Mr. Jomeku as he joins us.
Thank you very much. Let me stand on existing protocols, Nananum, and all dignitaries gathered here, to thank you for the opportunity given to the Ministry of Education to be part of this great launch. I'm sure you might know that at the ministry we are headed by the Honorable Minister, Dr. Osei Duchum. He would have loved to be here himself. However, the Vice President is currently visiting his constituency and he has to be there. And so he asked that we stand in for him and on behalf of the ministry. And so please accept his apology, but I'm sure that he has sent a good representative. And he believes so much in the local language, and that is why he thinks that it is necessary that we represent here at the launch of the spelling G. It brings back memory to myself when my name is Selassie, so I'm an Ewe. Growing up and somewhere in Sunyani, I couldn't speak the Ewe very well. And so our father, who was a soldier man, would always give you a knock the number of times you speak any other language, because we were speaking more of English in the house and things like that. So when he hears you speaking English, if you speak 3 sentences, then you get a 3 knocks. So he decided to take me to an Ewe school somewhere in the Volta region to do my O-levels. And so I was forced to do Ewe, and you know the Ewe exams. So when the timetable comes out and you see the day you write the Ewe, then you go and find one of these local people from the region, then you sit closer to him. You find some gari and sugar for your colleague, then he will teach you how to spell simple Ewe names, simple Ewe sentences we couldn't. And so when I had the information to represent here, it brought back that memory to me that this is a very important assignment for us and for the up-and-coming learners. It is important for us to take note of this very crucial moment that we find ourselves, that we are letting go some of these cultural practices, we are letting go some of our norms. Our country is full of, let me say, becoming more of English now. And so we associate ourselves with this very important launch. And so on his behalf, like I said, and on behalf of his 2 deputy ministers, the management and staff of the Ministry of Education, I want to take this opportunity to officially launch the spelling the spelling G. I hear it's called Baby Kafu. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my greatest honor and it is our pleasure to join you and all of us to launch this Baby Kafu spelling G. Let's put our hands together for all those who have taken this initiative to make sure this becomes a reality. For us as a ministry, we would ensure that whatever support we can render to make this program a success, where we can look at extending it to cover as many learners as possible, where everybody can at least spell something or write some sentences to ensure that we do not lose sight of where we are all coming from. Together, I wish this program, I wish all the initiators of this program a success, and let's hope that it becomes big. Can we once again put your hands together, and thank you very much for your time.
For now, I'll have Papa give us a tune, and then we go to the official launch.
All right. All right. Onipane obireya, yeah, body saying, I'm going to come back and I just say, oh no, anyone, none of them better say, oh anyone. ye body seni akoko pepe ya tuno ajize
We're going to go through three very quick short rounds. All right, three very quick short rounds. All right. So I want you to help me as the score takers. So for round one, it is very simple. Remember, they are all speaking different languages. So round one, the format is that we're going to mention an English word to each of them. All right. So when we start with Dagbani, we'll give him an English word. Number one, he has to give us that English word in his local language. If he gets it correct, he gets 2 points. Then, after getting it correct, he has to spell it in his or her local language. And if they spell it correct, they also get 2 points. So that means they have the potential of getting 4 points in round one. But if they don't get the word right, then they can't even spell it, right? So they would have lost 4 points. I hope you are with me. Good. That's for round one. And then for round two, we will switch it. We will mention a word to them in their local language. And then they are supposed to tell us that word in English to get 2 points. And then once they do, they now have to spell the original word in the local language as well to also get a final 2 points. And then in the third and final round, that's what we call the speed round. For that round, all of them are competing at the same time. So I'll mention an English word. Whoever raises their hand first to answer, they translate and they spell and they get an extra point. But to avoid them just raising their hands just for guesswork, if they answer and they answer wrongly, they lose 2 points. So they have to be confident before they can raise their hands and answer. Are you with me? Yes. Good. Spelling? I'm following Obinfo. Spelling? Good. So we're going to start, ladies and gentlemen. And for all of us in here who understand one language or another, you would help us also as our judges. So we start from Dagbani. And your word for 2 points, first of all, the word in English is welcome. Welcome. How do you say welcome in Dagbani? Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for him for 2 points. Somebody should be calculating for me. So 2 points to Dagbani. Now please spell the word in your local language. No, you are spelling in your local language. You cannot spell in English. You cannot spell in English. So 2 points already to Dagbani for getting the word right. Now you have to spell it in your local language. That's why you pass it on. Ladies and gentlemen, is there somebody who can attempt to spell? So the second contestant for Hausa, and your word in English is car. How do you say car in Hausa? Motor. They said the word for car in Hausa is motor. A round of applause for 2 points to Rashid. And now to the biggest task. Can you spell motor in Hausa? Don't say M. Can you spell motor in Hausa? Going one, going two, you want to pass it on? Mo enter. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 points to Hausa. A round of applause for him. Thank you very much. And so we transition to G. And your word in English is caterpillar. Caterpillar. How do you say caterpillar in G? How do you say caterpillar in G? Obinfo is looking at you. Gogomi. Is it correct? My consultants and linguists. Is it correct? One more attempt, second attempt. I hear Gogomi. So what is Gogomi? Gogomi is a worm. And caterpillar. You want to try again? You want to try again? Can anybody help us? What is caterpillar in G? What is caterpillar in G? So, very careful. Are we talking about the equipment caterpillar or the insect caterpillar? We are talking about the insect. We are talking about the insect. Abebe, abebe, abebe. Ladies and gentlemen, the right answer is abebe. Give it up to Global Media Alliance. Mr. Mponsan, thank you very much. Is that correct? Obinfo says abebe is not correct too. Sorry?
If the chick gets close to the mother hen, then it eats the thigh of abebe, which is a grasshopper's thigh. No caterpillar can have a thigh.
So abebe is actually grasshopper, alright? Oh yes, we have the answer for caterpillar.
So caterpillar and chi is, and you will know it when I said osa.
Osa?
Osa.
Osa.
Right, and the way to describe the larva that's still in the cocoon is osa a. That's osa that hasn't yet gotten out.
Has lost the points for that one. So we go to our next representative. What is the fancy word for pepe? Pepe. Pepe.
This one.
As the key dialect was said, Nago, that's vowel harmony. The fancies have an additional thing where the first vowel will be round because the second vowel is round, so it goes from Mako to Moko. So they do that for a lot of things. Right?
Alright, so we need 2 points fancy, right? But now we have already spelled it for him. So how do you spell it in fancy? You attempt.
But now we have already spelled it for him. So how do you spell it in fancy? You attempt. One final attempt. One final attempt. Go one more time. One final attempt. Let's go. Moko. In fancy. Ladies and gentlemen, what's the right spelling, please?
Ladies and gentlemen, and so Fancy gets 2 points but loses the second 2 points for spelling. Are you calculating?
Go to ga. And so the word in English is hippopotamus. Hippopotamus. How do you say hippopotamus in Ga? Hippopotamus. Do you know hippopotamus? You don't know hippopotamus? This one even Nima tell me hot. Anybody wants to help with hippopotamus?
Sure. Can you break it down for us?
That is elephant from the water.
Sure. So unfortunately you have lost it. But I still want you to attempt to spell sure in Ghana. Still attempt to spell. You can't get a point because you didn't get it right. But just for education, can you attempt to spell sure in Ghana? It's beginning to sound like Chinese. Mommy, if you could please help us with the spelling of Sure. Can you please help her with the microphone?
You can add the villa, or you can put the nasal sound on the that is Gugomia, Bemo. Then you know add the villa, and then sure. So, hey, wait, sure.
Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. That's right. That is the glass specialist in the house. Tell somebody, Numi sure. That is hippopotamus. Beautiful, beautiful. Can you imagine what it will be like on radio and TV? Spelling? Beautiful. So we go to Ewe. We have our Ewe language representative. So your word in English is mountain. How do you say mountain in Ewe? Mountain in Ewe. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 points to Ewe for getting it right. Now, please attempt to spell to in Ewe. The O. Ladies and gentlemen, the first person to get 4 points in round 1 is Togbe from Everland. And so, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are helping me with the scores, for round 1, Dagbani has how many points? 2 points. Hausa has how many points? 2 points. Chi has, Asante Chi has how many? 0. And then Fanti has how many? 2 points. And then Ga has how many? 0. And then Ewe has how many? And so for round 1, the winner of round 1 is Togbe Ewe. And so now we go to round 2. Round 2. Round 2, we are now going to attempt to mention the word in the indigenous language, and then they are supposed to give us the English of that word. Then you go back to spell the original word in your local language. All right? So that is for round 2. So for Dagbani, your word in your language for you to translate into English, and then ultimately for you to also spell it, is Bindirigu. Bindirigu. Your word is Bindirigu. What is Bindirigu in English? Sorry? Food. My consultant, is that correct? A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. For 2 points, Bindirigu in Dagbani is food. And so in Chi, in Ashanti Chi is what? Is what? In Ga is what? In Fanti is what? In Efe is what? Beautiful. So 2 points for Dagbani. Now you have to spell Bindirigu in Dagbani. Attempt that for us, my brother. Attempt. You spell it like you hear it. Bindirigu. What did you hear? No, I'm sorry, you mixed it up. Okay, just for it, you got it wrong, unfortunately. So you have 2 points for the translation. But just to help us to attempt to spell it, you spell it in English. Let's see if you hear it well, and then we'll see if we can translate it into the language. Pretty good. D-I-R. No. There's another I after the R. Alright, so it's B-I-N-D-I-R-I-G-U. Bindirigu. Alright, so you can do the research for how to spell it in the original language. By the way, 2 points to him. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And so now we go to Hausa. We go to Hausa. I'm going to give you a word in English, in Hausa, and then you give us the English translation, and then you attempt to spell for an extra 2 points. This is still round 2 of our mock presentation for spelling Chi, the national local language quiz competition. And for Hausa, your word So for Hausa, your word is Nagodi. Your word is Nagodi. What is Nagodi in English? Nagodi is what? A round of applause for 2 points And now, please attempt to spell Nagode in your local language for us. Is that right? The last word is what? The last letter is what? No, the last letter. Nagode. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for 2 points. And so that is 4 points to Hausa for round 2. 4 points to Hausa for round 2. And we go to the next Asante Tree. Don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. All right, don't lose hope. So for Asante Tree, we're going to give you a word in Asante Tree, and then you're going to give us the English, after which you will then attempt to spell it for us in English. So the word in tree is atu. 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 What is atu? What is atu? We're not asking you to describe, we're asking you to translate. Translate the word from tree to English. What is atu? What does it mean in tree, in English? Sorry.
Hugging someone. Giving somebody a hug.
No. It depicts hugging, but the translation is not, the word is not hug. This one will have a technical issue. Okay, so the answer, we want all of us to debate. Alright? The answer we have here is welcome. Hold on. That's why I said we are all going to debate. The answer we have here is welcome. Now, the question is it atu or is it akwaba for welcome?
If we say atu need to say uko share bibi na wabam. And we atu. In a way, it is a way of welcoming somebody. So that action, no, and now we can say atu. Now to say atua, it is hug. You are hugging somebody.
So atu is hug.
But it is a means of welcoming somebody.
Okay, I get what you mean.
It's literally hug, so she should get the 2 points.
Yes, she got 2 points.
Hug, and as she said, it's a means of welcoming. So when you say bam, that's like the sound of when you hit your chest with the hug. So atu, bam. So it's definitely hug. Metaphorically welcome. So I think that when we go into it, like metaphorical extension of what the actual thing is, we need to also look at that one. Yeah.
Figure out the nuances for the quiz itself. So, by the way, 2 points to Asante Tree. And now, to attempt to get another 2 points, can you spell atu in G? Ladies and gentlemen, 2 more points to Asante Tree. And so 4 points to Asante Tree for round 2. 4 points to you for round 2. And so now we move on to Fanti. So Fanti, we have a word for you in Fanti, and then you will give us the English translation, after which you will now attempt to spell it. All right, so let's make it simple. To all of us here, how do we say afafanto in Fanti? We know what it is in G. In Fanti is what? It's the same? Afafanto. All right, so your word in Fanti is afafanto. Now, what is afafanto in English? Silence to all of us. What is afafanto in English before you attempt to spell it? Fanti language representative. As the Papa will fear, afafanto. What is it in English? Going one, going two. No idea. What is afafanto in English? Yes. Yes. Butterfly, a round of applause for her. A round of applause. And so unfortunately you lose all the marks for this round. But I want you to attempt to spell Afafanto Infanti. Let's go. What about for no bear for Afro
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together.
So Afafanto is butterfly, all right? So unfortunately you don't get any points for round 2. We move on to next is Ga, and your word in Ga for you to translate into English is, what is oflong in English? Bed. No. One more time. What is oflong in English? You see, when you live in Accra, you don't know such words. When you go to Kamachi Koba, you will know the words. Yes, caterpillar is the word. Caterpillar is the word. Oflong is caterpillar in English. So 2 points to Ga. Now attempt to spell oflong. The word is oflong. Oflong. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Ga for another 2 points. So that is 4 points to Ga in this round 2. Congratulations to you. And we come to the reigning champion from round 1. Togbe Eve is in the house. We want to give you a word in Eve, and then you give us what does it mean in English. So you now attempt to spell it as well for us. Let me see if I find the Eve words. So somebody should volunteer an Eve word for me. Volunteer an Eve word. Amenu veve. Amenu veve. Amenu veve. What is amenu veve in English?
Amenu veve is grace.
Grace. Grace. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. So amenu veve in Chi is what? In Ga is what? Dromo. In Dagbani is what? In Hausa is what? Or is it comfort? Amenu veve. 2 more points for Eve in the house. Now attempt to spell amenu veve.
Amenu veve.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Togbe Eve. That's right. That's right. Togbe is in a comfortable lead. So, ladies and gentlemen, round 2 comes to a close, and we're tabulating. Now, give me the scores for round 2. For round 2, Dagbani had how many?
2.
And then Hausa? 4. And then Asante Tree? 4 points, right? And then Fancy Tree? 0. And then Ga? 4. And then Eve? 4. And so when we add round 1 and round 2, ladies and gentlemen, the total scores as of now, Dagbani has how many? 4. Hausa has how many? 6. Asante Tree? 4. Fancy Tree? 2. Ga? 4. And Togbe? 8. Togbe in the house. Spelling? Now to the final round, round 3. In round 3, it is a speed competition. I'm going to mention a word. The word goes to all 6 of you. If you know the word in your local language, make sure you shoot your hand up fully. Don't do this. Fully. The person we all see first will get the chance to answer. Now, if you answer and you get it wrong, we are assuming that you didn't know and you were guessing. So you get -2 points. So if you don't know, don't attempt. But if you know, then you can add 2 points to your total. And then after the first 2, If you can also spell it in your local language, you also get an extra 2 points. Are we ready? So this one, all of us are judges to determine who shoots their hand up first. So the word in English for you to mention in your local language, the word is calabash. Who went first? Who went first? So we'll give it to Efo. What is calabash in heaven? What is calabash in heaven? Tre. A round of applause for them in the house. 2 points. But don't let them say I'm too serious. Relax on it. Tommy is taking it work. He didn't come to know. So please, Tommy gets 2 more points. But now you will attempt to spell it and then get an extra 2 more points. So spell tre in heaven. Please start again. Going. 2 more points to Togbe in the house. Congratulations to Togbe. So the second word, we have 6 words. Second word. No, actually, Togbe is promoted. Yes, when you get this right, you go higher. All right? No, it's still in there. So, ready? The word for the second round. Second round is Adam's apple. Adam's apple. Who went first? Bella went first, right? All right. Adam's apple. How do you say that in Ghana? What do you say? What do you say? Mommy? Tablet. Is it close enough? Do you give it to her? Do you cancel it? Please mention it again. Tablet. I think 2 more points on that. 2 points on that. But now you have to spell it. So spell it for us. Try it. Over here is smoothly. Spell it smoothly. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And so that is 4 points to Ga in the house. 4 points to Ga. Third word, out of 6. Third word out of 6. The word is aeroplane. Who got the first? Are you sure? Please give us. What is aeroplane in heaven? One more time. Yama what? Yama who? What is aeroplane in Ghana? Call your lele. What's aeroplane in G? Accept G. We are saying, what is call your aeroplane in Tabani? Hausa. Fancy. We are saying, that's why I accept the note. It's the same. The phonetics of it. Yes, I get you. Beautiful. So, Togbe got 2 points for aeroplane in heaven. Now he's going to attempt to spell it for another 2 points. A round of applause to Togbe in the building. Togbe is on a spaceship. Togbe is flying. He's going. But that's what he wants, right? That's what he wants. Knowledge of your language is power. Spelling.
But I still want to know what aeroplane in Dagbani is. What's aeroplane in Dagbani? Aeroplane. Are you from Dagbani? Are you from Dagbani? Once you heard play, they sound like English. How about Hausa? What's it? Tirigin Sama. When you break it down, what does it mean? Break it down for me.
It's like a tree. Okay, so and summer is
the sky, the air. So it's like trading going in the air. That's right. Sky trade. That's right.
All right. So that was word number 4, right?
In fact, that's what we want to talk about.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes.
The borrowing and then the coinage and all
Exactly. So you see, we can have all the words. Now, the next word. How many words have we done so far? 4. So we have 2 more to go. 2 more. Word number 5. Are you ready? Spectacles.
Spectacles. Listen. Let's be honest. Nobody's hand went out first. So he has the right. But I want to hear that I'm running for no points. Just for education. No. We are competing, so we have to keep the rules. No. You see, we cannot punish him for being right. You understand? So if he was the first, please, he has earned the right. Do you know how much Accra he has earned to beat him to be able to go here? But so he gets the right for points. And I want to hear the money just for education. What the spectacles in the money? What again? They don't play. They don't borrow. It's like glasses. Glasses on the eyes. Alright, no problem. A round of applause. But for the official points, let's hear Tope. What is the other word for spectacles? Gangui. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Tope in the house. That's 2 more points. Now for extra 2 points. Please spell it in heaven. One more time, please. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Tope in the building. So Tope got 4 points, 4 more points in round 6. Now the final word. In English, the word is radio. Tope did not come to play. He did not come to play. What is radio in Ghana? What? Akasanuma. What is radio infancy? Kasafidi. 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 And then Ashanti is what? Really? Dagbani for radio is what? Walense. And then for Hausa? Radio. That sounds like Spanish radio. I like the fact that it is a radio. But ladies and gentlemen, to officially attempt for an extra 2 points, what is radio in heaven? What is it?
That's right. 2 points to take back. Give it up for him. And now, for the final 2 points in this competition, Tope, please spell radio in heaven. Sabotage. You have to be careful, I can tell you. Please try one more time. Take your time, mention the full word, and then spell it again. Please, consultants, I need your attention. Let's go. Yes, go. Do we give it to him? Wait, I need to hear from my consultants. So which one are you spelling?
So I'm spelling Nano. That is let's go to go Patos Island.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up. We have a contribution at the back. Yes, sir. Please, attention, please.
So the spelling is
Good. So what you missed was the oo after the first letter. So he gets 2 points for getting the word right, but he loses the final 2 points for the spelling. A round of applause to Tope in the building. But still. And ladies and gentlemen, the overall champion for the mock presentation, spelling G. Tope, how many points? 32 points. 22 points. A round of applause to Tope in the house. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to all of our language representatives. Wasn't that interesting? Did we learn something? Thank you so much. Very grateful. And so we're gradually coming to an official end. And before we receive our closing remarks from the rep from the Language Centre here at UPSA, we'd like to give opportunity to some personalities to just say a word or two in support of us being here. So I'll invite first the Nimanche is in the house, and so Nimanche respectfully is the Manche for Kokumlimli, and he's here to add his might, his support, his honor. A round of applause, please, as he joins us. After that, we go to National Commission on Culture, and then we wrap it up.
Thank you all. Good afternoon. Spelling G. Yes. Spelling G. Yeah. Because of all what this program is about, I want to sit down so that it means following whatever we do. It means that we finish. I can look over. If you know where I go, one car, baby careful, be a can over. It gives me a body, some academy. with the primary school here. We require the student ke Madam Bawe, maybe a woman be already. You are not here, or travel. Get a CCA at home here. Yes, you will. You are there and pay AP. One action, are you a tree wire? So you want to be a woman, when I get away now.
A round of applause. And we invite our rep from National Commission on Culture, who's also a very important partner in this endeavor, to please add her voice. After that, we'll hear from the Language Centre, and then we'll wrap it up.
I don't even know why I said I'm a new baby. Good afternoon to you all. I think I also need to stand on the existing protocols. I think I just told somebody here that I also wanted to speak in my local dialect, but I think, Manche, you have taken the lead. Before then, I want to say, for the sake of those of us who don't understand Chi, I am so happy to stand here on behalf of the Executive Director of the National Commission on Culture, Nana Otuo Owahini Echampong. He extends his greetings to each and every of us here. And then we want to say that as the National Commission on Culture, the only state institution that is mandated by law to steer the affairs, the cultural life of Ghana. Today we are here as a partner for this very important program, that is Baby Careful Spelling Chi. I am here to tell all of you that the Commission on Culture, which is the institution that is managing the cultural life of Ghana, has the language of this country at heart. Because language is one of the symbolic aspects of our culture. And we cannot despise it and move. I was thinking about something this morning. What really brought us here? There was communication. How was it done? It was either written or spoken. So language is very crucial to our daily life. Enti ye hia se esese ye nyina ye ne se yen kasa hu hia na ye nipa ye ntimi ntena se yankasa eta ne se ansa na meba ha ne kra no e obi na de kasa ton nsa frame enti se ye di dwumadi a ete se atugwa na ye nyina ye ba beboa no ehia se ye de ye hu behiem na so se ye Commission on Culture no ne ye pese ye ne se Yede Yangamoding Yen centers the Center for National Cultures that is across the 16 regions in Ghana. Yede Beboa. Into say Jumedino, Yapasa ye rotate here. Say bia from Plana ye kind. Yes, ye be open to all at a point in time. That is the second half. And the first half is going to be strictly in the educational sector. And in this ceremony, yenso yewe yensem ye the yen Centers for National Culture ebeboa enti se dwumadi ni refi ha akoba bi fufura we can give you our centers as a place to host enti mokwa nkonwa wo ho de ni muda ho enua ni se nipa ne beba na ye di aye na so kakra meka kan woni se the National Commission on Culture no dwumadi amoridi as a national programming ye bi CUYD ye bi. That is the Community Education and Youth Development. Ye buan krofofofo ye won homework ni ade enti we do reading clinic. But I am so happy said today there is a private institution and they want someone with the mandate of the commission and they want to liaise with us to help us execute our mandate. Enti ne can say Baby Careful. Well done. Long live Baby Careful. Long live all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much from the NCC. We're very grateful. And I mentioned that we would wrap it up from the Language Centre UPSA. But I notice, of course, that the Dean is in the house. So I'll offer him the chance to wrap it up. But before the Dean comes in, we do also have a rep from Bureau of Languages. Bureau of Languages. I'd like to give opportunity for Bureau of Languages to also have a word. A round of applause, please, as we have them. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. The time is fast spent. Bureau of Ghana Languages, we are grateful for this special initiative, and we pledge our support. And it's a hope and prayer that this program will not be centered only in Accra or only in the cities. My village, Hafasni, and so forth, we are also ready to host this program. So don't let it remain only in Accra. Ghana is not only Accra. My village is also there. So please come to us. I'm sure all collaborate. And I also pray that the stakeholders try and come on board and let's promote our languages. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And talking about stakeholders, we would like to mention that we have Asempa Publications have set up a table with their Ghana language materials just at the back there, and they are running some promotions for us today, just for today. So if you are here and you would like to have any of either the storybooks or the literature materials from Asempa Publications, please connect with them. Respectfully, I'd like to invite Professor Asamoah, Dean of the Faculty of Communication, UPSA.
Thank you very much. I think time is fast spent. What is going on here, as I was sitting down witnessing the events unfolding, is revolutionary in many ways. I'm a practicing lawyer, and I go to courts, and there are serious issues with translation. You are doing cross-examination, you mention something, and then there's supposed to be an official translator, but there's always a difficulty trying to capture what the person has said in a way that will not alter the meaning. And for me, that is very instructive. And as a country, this is a developmental issue. And if we go by the United Nations and Sustainable Development Goals, we all know that nobody should be left out. We are actually leaving some of the people we call illiterates out just because they can't speak English, and that's very unfortunate. And I'm very excited that as a university, UPSA, we are hosting the official launch of this great initiative. The management of the university are very excited about this, and we pledge our support in whatever way we can to ensure that this becomes a success, and not just for a particular year, but continuously for the rest of our lives. The memories I have received here is going to stay with me for a very long time. We're all laughing, we're all having fun. I'm sure if I were to sit in my office, I would have been frustrated by now by so many things. But at least I've come here and I have learned so much. I thank the organizers, I thank all the invited guests. I wish I could have delivered my speech in a local language, but we are part of a generation that were educated in English even at home. It's unfortunate. I can speak one or two languages, but not enough to give a speech. And I'm sure that I'm not the only one, so don't be looking at me in a certain way. All of us are guilty. Thank you very much for coming, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the day.